Welcome to the Hockey Writers Union Junction, a weekly show from our Columbus Blue Jackets insider, Mark Scheig, bringing you the latest news, rumors, trades, player grades, game results, and much more. From training camp to the playoffs, from draft day to the trade deadline, he covers everything that happens with the Jackets. So get ready. It's time for another get-together at Union Junction.
Well, hello, hockey fans. Welcome back to Union Junction. It is February the 24th. It's Thursday morning. And for our guests, our really special guests this week, it's legitimately Thursday morning. Like, we're recording this Wednesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern time with the NHL games about to get underway. But our guest is in Finland right now, and it's a couple minutes after 2 a.m. on Thursday morning. So this is going to drop Thursday morning here. But by the time that it drops, it's going to be afternoon into the early evening in Finland, but we couldn't be more excited. Nick is joining me here. We have somebody, and Blue Jackets fans, if you've been really paying attention to Twitter as of late, this is somebody that you've noticed, especially when it comes to Patrik Laine, and more specifically, anytime he does something in Finnish, she does a yeoman's work in translating for us, for the fans, in order to see what he's saying back to his home country. And so we thought this would be a really good time to bring her on. This is Saila Sotavalta, and she is joining us from Finland. How you doing, Saila? And we really appreciate you doing this.
Hi, Mark. Hi, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you very much for your time as well. Just first and foremost, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. The Blue Jackets are winning, so I'm doing great.
They really are. Yeah, 8-2-2 in their last 12 games. Patrik Laine has started to really turn up the heat here. Are you noted? Let's give Blue Jackets fans a little bit of a background. So Saila has watched every Patrik Laine game with the Blue Jackets since the trade, with the Jets, and going even before that as well, before arriving with Winnipeg. So you want to talk about somebody who has a pretty good knowledge of Laine, it's Saila. So just what are you seeing from him right now in terms of, he's obviously scoring goals. It seems like he's turning more into the Patrik Laine that Blue Jackets fans were hoping for. Was there a moment that you may have noticed that that he started to really turn around, that you knew that, oh gosh, this is the Patrik Laine that we've been expecting?
Well, basically, I noticed that in the beginning of the season, even in training camp, but mainly the biggest transformation have been since he came back from his injury. Mm-hmm. And maybe, the 8-10 games wasn't that perfect, but come on, he was out quite a long time. But since then, when they got going after the All-Star break, I think then I noticed the biggest transformation in his game. And I got like a little flashback from his time in Winnipeg in the early seasons when he scored a lot of goals. But this time it was a little different. His body language is different, and he's enjoying his teammates. I can see a clear difference in the way he celebrates his goals. So I think there's a quite big difference. And even in his game, if we don't take account of the goals, he's like skating in the both end of the ice. So doing stuff that I know he can do, but he hasn't done it like that. He's like Patrik Laine in steroids.
Wow.
So, Saila, I wanted to ask you, heading into the 2016 draft, there was two Finns at the top of the ranking. From what I could tell, it seemed like Laine and Jesse Puljujärvi were kind of interchangeable in terms of what pick they would be selected at. Why did you pick Laine to kind of hop on the Laine train over Puljujärvi, the other Finn?
I think he has the it factor. The way he scored those goals, it's like nobody does it like that. It's like the expectation when he have the puck, there's an expectation that it goes in. So he's like a mesmerizing hockey player.
And
fun to
when
watch.
did you pick up on Laine? What was your first aha kind of moment with him?
I was going in the local SM League games to watch Tappara games. And that was the season before he got drafted by Winnipeg. So that was the first time I noticed him. And of course, then came the World Juniors. He was unbelievable with Puljujärvi and Aho. The line was like the miracle in ice in Finland, basically. And then came the Tappara playoffs, and he was the MVP on those playoffs. He was like a game changer. So that's basically when I hop on the Laine train, if you say it like that.
Saila, can you kind of give everybody a sense, especially here in the States, just how big Patrik Laine is to Finland? Like, we know that Finland has a lot of stars in the league now. You already mentioned Sebastian Aho, Sasha Barkov is another one, Mikko Rantanen is another one. There's some real star power out of Finland, but just what makes Patrik Laine, there's just something magnetic to him, and just how big of a deal is he to his home country of Finland, in your opinion?
Well, I think he's the most watched NHL player in Finland. Basically, there are 10 stories every day about Finnish NHL players, but maybe 3 of them or 4 of them are of Patrik Laine. So basically, he draws a lot of attention, and some of Finnish fans don't like the attention he's getting. But there's like 80% of the Finnish people love him. So I think he's just a very catching personality. And like I said, the way he plays, it's like there's no one else like him.
Why do you feel like that you said that, so 80% really like him, but then maybe 20% don't like him? Is that just because maybe he's overcovered too much, or is there a reason that sticks out to why they might not like him?
I think that's the one reason of it, but maybe some of them don't like his personality, and maybe in the early days in the Winnipeg when he started in the NHL, his overall game wasn't perfect. It's not even now, but maybe they're annoyed that he gets that much attention when those other players like Rantanen and Aho, they are great players and they are overall great players, but they don't have it, like the it factor, in my opinion.
I wanted to ask you, was it kind of fitting when he was traded to the Blue Jackets? Because I know there's that Jarmo connection there too. I'm sure that he's kind of a rock star in Finland too. I'm Canadian, so I know every time like there's a Canadian in the States who's doing something great, we all know about it, and we're all like a little bit biased towards Canadians in the States. Would you say there's kind of a bias towards the Blue Jackets because Kekäläinen's running the show and he's a Finn as well?
I think so, but I don't know if it would matter if there wasn't a Finnish GM. I think the Finnish people would still think that the Blue Jackets are the Finnish NHL team.
Saila Sotavalta is joining us from Finland, talking about Patrik Laine, the Blue Jackets, and much more. And actually, what you just mentioned, Saila, is perfect segue for my next question, because unfortunately, due to COVID, the Blue Jackets were supposed to go to Finland to play a couple of games against the Colorado Avalanche, and that kind of fell through. Maybe they're going to work something out here in future seasons where the Blue Jackets get to go. And you just mentioned Laine being that player in Finland. Just how big would that be if they're able to get the Blue Jackets and Laine to play a couple of regular season games in Helsinki or somewhere in Finland like that? Just what would that mean for the country as a whole?
I think it would be a great deal. Actually, Winnipeg was like a couple of years ago was playing here a global series with Florida Panthers. So those games were sold out. I was there. Laine scored a hat trick, and in the second game, I think he scored 2 goals. So yeah, that was awesome game. That was played in Helsinki in Hartwall Arena, but I would guess if Blue Jacket would come to Finland, maybe the other game of the set of 2 games would be played in Tampere, since we have a new big arena here in the center of Tampere. It's awesome. So I think you should really come here.
I would love the opportunity to go there. That is for sure. I'm sure Nick would too, right?
Oh man, I've been to Scandinavia, but Finland was the one that I missed, and I was really excited because I'm really excited about the possibility, because people just tell me great things about Finnish people. I only hear good things. I wanted to ask you about your calendar behind you. If you're listening, Saila has a Laine calendar. She's covered up Patrik and written pay. So it says pay Laine. Let me ask you, what do you think is a fair evaluation for Laine? I know you're not like a cap expert or anything, but what do you hope that next contract looks like for Laine?
Well, I hope it's gonna be over 6 years for starters. I don't know if it's gonna be, but I hope. I wouldn't mind if it's like 9.5, and maybe go a little above it, like 290,000. Just
so
to get
specific.
this number on it.
Oh yeah, like Kanyemi did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and listen, and there's a lot of talk about, he's 1 year away from unrestricted free agency, still under team control. He could walk to free agency. He could do a short-term deal. Heck, the way he's been playing right now, and I even wrote that piece not that long ago, they need to try to make him a Blue Jacket for life. I know you can't do that on one contract, but there's a couple different options here. He could be, he's still 23 years old. It's really ridiculous how young he still is doing all this stuff. You could do a 4-year deal and still get a major payday after that. So you could still have 2 big contracts ahead of him, or they could try to lock him up for 8 years right off the bat now. And so that's something that we're going to pay a real close attention to. But you mentioned something earlier that I want to really focus on, Saila, and that's just, you say the body language, and I've noticed it too. Like, he gets all the attention offensively, but he's back checking, he's applying pressure. It seems like that he's trying to step up defensively, and he's been very noticeable about that. Is that maybe an underrated part of his game that doesn't get enough attention? Like, when he's really going, like, I feel like his feet is moving all the time when he's going right. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, and I think there's something behind that nobody really understands about him. He tries to be the best player he can be every day. He tries to make his game better, and I can link those 2 things together, that he being happy in the ice, and to that he's back checking. Like, he's trying to win for the team. He's trying to win for the coach. I think Larsen is the best coach he has had.
Oh, wow.
And I think it's by how he is handling him. He can make mistakes, but he doesn't have to publicly.
I was going to go with Tortorella next. Do you really feel like that John Tortorella held Patrik Laine back, especially early on?
I think in a way he did, but I think there's this, like I said, me personally, I didn't like the way he was handled. Like, it was public. If he made a mistake, everybody knows it. He was sitting quite a lot in the bench that game. And I don't know, that's the best way to handle him. It might work for 70% of the players, but maybe not for him.
Let me ask you, do you have a favorite Patrik Laine moment?
I do. I have 2. The first one is from the first season in Winnipeg. They were playing against Toronto.
Nice.
And it was the first match against Auston Matthews. and Winnipeg was down 4-0. And they came back, and Patrik Laine wins the game in overtime.
Yep.
With a hat trick, just seconds before Matthews tried to win the game. That was awesome game. It was like the best I've seen him in the Winnipeg. But also I have to mention I really enjoyed the game. They were in Finland because I was there in person. So yeah, those two.
Wow. So Saila, I wanted to ask you about the interactions on Twitter, because you're a presence out there, and I think Blue Jacket fans and fans in general really appreciate the work that you do with translating some of the articles, and you do interact with a lot of them. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on what have you thought about your interactions with Blue Jackets fans on Twitter, and just the overall experience. How have they treated you? How have they welcomed you? Different things like that.
Oh, I've enjoyed being on Twitter. I wouldn't be there if it wasn't fun. So I really like the other fans. They have welcomed me open arms. So that's like my, if you can divide your life in two sections, you have the personal life, your work life, and then the ones that you really love, and it like balances your life. So the Blue Jackets and the Twitter, for sure, that's the one for me.
Really,
do you watch the games live when you watch?
Sorry?
When you watch the games, do you watch them live, or do you like go back and watch them?
I should watch them in the morning.
Yeah.
I usually do. But there are there have been maybe too many games this season I have watched live because I've been so hyped. So I couldn't sleep, and then I watched the clock and okay, it's almost 2 a.m. so the game is starting. So maybe I should just watch it live. Maybe that's been possible since I've been working from home, so it gives me a few hours more sleep. But usually I watch it morning before I go to work.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you don't think about when you're a suffering sports fan across the pond. There's just another level of dedication. Yeah, Mark, what do you got?
I just got a couple more. Just got to talk about Finland winning gold medal in Beijing. I mean, I understand Laine wasn't there. I understand a lot of the NHLers weren't there, but what does that do for Finland to, knock off Russia in the gold medal final like this, and to, be an Olympic champion like that?
It's a great deal for Finnish people in general, because hockey is such a big deal here. And the way they did it, it's like, I like really the way Jukka Jalonen coaches the national team. And I know that some of the Russians didn't like the way they played, it wasn't like a defensive game, yeah. But they won every game in that tournament. So I think they earned it. So yeah, it was a big deal. There was that was the morning here in Finland. And people went to city to celebrate in the morning. And even when they came back from Beijing, there was this big party in the Olympic Stadium, and there was snowstorm, but they didn't care.
That won't stop them. Nope.
No.
Nick, do you have anything?
Oh no,
okay.
I think I'm pretty good. Saila is she's awesome. I'm really enjoying this. Just listening.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I got one more, and it's actually a fan question from Twitter. We took out to Twitter to see if someone had a question. I actually like this question from Mark Correll, and he asked, Saila, what is the difference in Patrik Laine between the way that his tenure with the Jets ended and the way he's being handled with the Blue Jackets? So was there any big noticeable differences that you saw? Maybe the way he was handled, the way he was playing, different things like that?
Yeah, I think in the last 2 seasons with the Jets, I don't know if it went that well for him personally. And I don't know, I don't mean the goals and the stuff, but I think that he wasn't happy. He didn't celebrate the goals like he used to. It was yeah, I scored, yeah. And it was like he was this not a happy person, but he didn't get a chance to play in the top line. And there was like different players every week in the second line where he was playing. I think that was one of the reasons he wasn't liking there. I'm not sure, this is my opinion, but then the last year, the season he got traded to Blue Jackets. I don't know if he had that kind of a happiness also, because I didn't know if there were so many things that changed. His line mates, his local line blender was all over again. But this season it's different. Larsen is giving lines some time to work things out, gain some chemistry, even though he sometimes changed some things, but still. And you can see that the whole team enjoys each other. Like, I don't know if that was the case in Winnipeg. But
Sorry.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, let's go on.
I did have one more question. This year he's kind of blown up kind of virally. He's become like a style fashion icon. Has he always been like that, or is that just kind of new?
I think he has been in some way, but not like this. I don't know if it's that the social media team in Winnipeg didn't catch it, or maybe he has picked another style, I guess, but I think it's awesome.
Yeah, that's a credit to the Blue Jackets social media team, because it really seems like they prioritize that. They want to, not just with Laine, but with Merzlikins is someone else who does really good work with the fashion, and they capture the players as they get into the arena. Like, they do a really good job in like marketing their stars. You see that as well?
Yeah, definitely. And I think I think he enjoys being that kind of a star in outside of the ice also.
Well, Saila, look, this has been really, really awesome. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us real early in the morning, your time, to like really get to the bottom of Patrik Laine. And, with your vast knowledge and experience, and fans, you can follow her out on Twitter. She's out there at Saila Sotavalta. You can chat with her. She'll translate stuff in Finnish, and anything relevant to Patrik Laine, you're probably going to find it. And that calendar, like Nick said earlier, that is one of the best things that I've ever seen in my life. So we really, really appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Thank you. This was really fun. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Fans, we got a little bit of a part 2. We're going to react to this and talk more Laine, so stick right with us. All right, Blue Jackets fans, we're back with reaction to the interview we just had with Saila Sotavalta. What a phenomenal interview that ended up being. But before we react to it, Nick, got a question for you. I've done it, but have you subscribed to the Hockey Writers Morning Skate yet?
Mark, I got to say, I had subscribed, but then I had a feeling that you were going to ask me to do it again. So then I unsubscribed, and now I'm resubscribing because I just love it. It's great.
Listen, the fact that you knew that I was going to ask you about it, you get a point for our season-long lightning round competition. So
very good. All right,
very good. But fans, seriously though, make sure that you subscribe to the Morning Skate. I do it. All the writers do it here. It's content delivered to your inbox every morning. Great stories just from all around the hockey world, Monday through Friday. So just make sure that you click on the link for the Morning Skate. You can find it in almost any article that we have, or right on the homepage at thehockeywriters.com. And you won't miss that. You won't miss any of our shows, our growing podcast network. We have over 100 writers and counting, including 2 in the Professional Hockey Writers Association now in Arizona and New Jersey. So good stuff going on here. It'd be great for you to join us. And by subscribing to the Morning Skate, you will not miss a thing of what's going on here. So Don't miss out. Subscribe to the Morning Skate now.
And hey, if you're at the water cooler and somebody's talking a team that's not the Blue Jackets, that Morning Skate stuff's going to get you some also non-Blue Jacket information so that you can keep up with everybody.
Absolutely. All over the hockey world. It's not just a Blue Jackets thing. 32 NHL teams and even some from outside. So good stuff.
It's a lot to keep up with. Let us do it for you.
There you go. Nick, so we got to react to this. She said some really, really interesting things during the interview. The one that stuck out for me anyway is the effect that Brad Larsen has had. And, she talked about how Larsen seems to let him do things more. And then more importantly, talked about maybe not doing things in public, and then mentioning how, Tortorella has a certain way and how maybe 70% of players in her mind, appreciate the Tortorella way, but maybe Laine had to be handled differently. I just wonder what your reaction to her comments about Larsen and all that was.
Really? I think that it's fair, but what stood out to me was that she said he was the best coach. So that includes even in Winnipeg with Paul Maurice, who is a very highly regarded coach. Yep. So I think that speaks really well to, the Blue Jackets decision, at least from a, handling star players point of view. Mm-hmm. Big thumbs up there. Love to hear it. And we are definitely seeing the results of that this season on ice with Laine.
Yeah. And earlier on too, mentioned that, there's a lot of really good players in Finland, Nick.
So many.
Sebastian Aho, Sasha Barkov, who the Blue Jackets are going to see tonight against the Florida Panthers, Mikko Rantanen, and there's many that are out there. It could go on and on and on with this. But she called out Laine as the player in Finland. Like, he's the one that the Finns tend to pay attention to the most. And I also thought it was real interesting that most like him, but then some don't, maybe because of how he comes across as a personality. But I think that's an important thing to consider, that although he may portray one way, it's maybe not necessarily indicative of who he actually is. And she wanted to make a point of, just how, when he's playing like this, people gravitate to him. Like, he has that it factor that, she called out Laine as having that it factor over those other Finns. And that really stands out to me, is about, the kind of player that is actually in Columbus and what Blue Jackets fans get to watch on a daily basis now.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. All of those players, I've done all my homework, but all those players, they played in Finland. So they had a chance to see all those players when they were at that same period of time. And he's the guy that really stuck. And, Barkov still went third overall, I think. These are still really strongly regarded players in their draft years. And to hear that they regard him like that is really something special. And in terms of some people not liking him, just being in Canada around when Sidney Crosby was breaking into the league, so many people hated Sidney Crosby. And I think part of it is probably just because he's, covered so much. But at the same time, I would imagine that the people that aren't a fan of Laine don't deny his talent.
No, that's exactly right. Really well said on your part. And I'll just end this part of it by saying what she was saying about him back checking and, moving the feed and, being able to play some defense, comparing that to being indicative of how happy he is. I think that's a big deal, because if we've seen Laine as a way, we know that he's scoring the goals, but he's been much more noticeable for checking the opposition, going back and playing defense. Like, I see a different level in the skating and in the movement and in the give a care kind of thing. And yeah, I think it actually goes hand in hand, and leads to one other question too. This is where I want to get your take on about, some player, the whole narrative about Columbus is a lot of star players move on from Columbus. He seems really happy there, body language wise, the way that he's playing. maybe he doesn't need to have all the attention. Maybe going to a market like Columbus is perfect for somebody like him. Is that the way maybe you see it too, Nick?
I couldn't agree with you anymore. I think, kind of a lower pressure market, in terms of like there's not a zillion media outlets with their eyes on him, calling him out every day.
Yep.
That's definitely a place where he needs to be. He seems like he can be a little bit more, I don't know if temperamental is the right word, but like you mentioned, he does play harder when he's happier. But that's the other side of the coin when you're looking into a long-term deal with a player.
Yep.
Is he going to be happy and play at this level the entire time of that contract? And I would say the skill is 100% there, but if there's any concern about a long-term deal, it should be that, effort-based consistency part of his game.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends on what Patrik Laine you're going to get.
Yeah, and that's a question too that the Blue Jackets will have to consider when it comes to how much. I don't think there's much of a question that they like him. Kekäläinen has been on the record as saying he would have been drafted number 2. He was extremely happy with the trade when they made the Dubois trade. There's some obvious question about effort and at first, but he's doing so much now to prove what he is. But if there's anybody out there that knows him, it's Jarmo Kekäläinen. And if there's anybody that would be qualified to make that kind of a call, it's Jarmo Kekäläinen. So do I think that he gets traded? No. Do I feel like they need to do everything to keep him for a long time? Absolutely. Let's see where it goes. Kekäläinen seems like he has, he's not going to let it be known now because there's a lot of question out there, but it seems like that he's got things under control, knowing that he's still under team control. And, if he continues like this, I'm not sure what other recourse he has, but to try to sign him long-term, or at least as Silas Calendar said, pay Laine, right?
That's right. And if there's one person to be in control, they've got the right guy behind the wheel.
Absolutely. So let's end it like this. Just got a quick lightning round question for you, Nick. There's 4 games between the end. We're taping the show now, and then when we get to next week's show. So they've got at Florida, at Carolina, and then a pair of home games against the Penguins and against the New Jersey Devils. How many wins do the Blue Jackets get in those 4 games?
Now, Mark, I know you're just brushing over this, but before we get into this question, I got to go back to last week. I was so close with the Blackhawks Blue Jackets score. I predicted, I think it was 7-3. No, I predicted 6-3. 6-3. And it wound up being 7-4.
How could you mess up like that?
Where's my praise, Mark? That's so close. That's Price is Right rules. I'm in.
You shorted both teams a goal. How could you get praise for that?
Okay. All right. You're such a stickler. I think you said like 3-2 or something.
Oh, I did. I was way off because then that we could go on for hours about the Blue Jackets offense. My gosh, they have been just on a roll. So I will give you credit for that. You were Price is Right close. You pretty much nailed it. You're right. I'm wrong. There you go.
All right. Perfect. Thank you. That's all I wanted. Now let's go into this next week where I don't think it's going to look great for the Blue Jackets. Like, look at the teams they're playing. Zoinks. It is a tough road ahead, especially with the teams that they've played these guys this season and not fared very well for the most part. I'm going to say they've got a chance against New Jersey. I'm going to give them New Jersey. And maybe they can pull off one more. Can I say 1.5? Is that are we breaking the decimal barrier? Can we do that?
Well,
or no?
I mean, theoretically, there's overtime. So are you saying a win in an overtime point?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. 1.5.
I say there's a split.
Wow.
They got 2 home games. And I know the Penguins are a tough opponent. They've always been a tough opponent. But if there's a time they play the Penguins tough, it's at Nationwide Arena, and they get the game there. And they do well on Sundays, so I'm not discounting that all the way. And remember, they beat Carolina 6-0 earlier in the season, so they've proven that they can compete there. Florida might be a little bit of the challenge, especially coming off a loss against Nashville. They might be a little bit upset and might, go out here. But never say never. When the Blue Jackets have the offense that they have, if they can avoid the dumb mistake, that second Florida game, they made some just gut-wrenching critical mistakes, because it was 5-4 at one point, but then those two mistakes made it 7-4 and it was game over. So they've got to do a better job of managing the puck and making fewer mistakes. If they can do that, they can stay in the game. So I say they're going to be able to split it and go 2-2 in one way or another.
That's bold prediction.
Bold predictions. Yet got to get the fans to tune in somehow, right?
It could happen. It could happen.
Well, Nick, great show this week, fans. Thank you so much for joining us here on Union Junction. Again, 4 games coming up. We're less than a month from the trade deadline. There is so much going on. The Blue Jackets are going to have a lot of decisions to make. You know, Korpisalo's on injured reserve. We're going to obviously keep track of that. What's Max Domi's future hold? Or maybe is there a surprise or two? We'll keep you all up to date here. We will be back next week on Union Junction. So until then, enjoy all the games. Take care of yourself. We'll see you next time.